Hi, everyone. This is Hal Krosman with Screenwriting U, and today we're going to talk about how you can make money as a screenwriter. So I think this is, once you've done even written one or two scripts, I think this should be a conversation that you're considering. How do you make money? How do you create success? How do you actually get your movies made? So here's what we're going to talk about. First, the four main ways that writers make money. And it's important to know this because most people just think it's just about selling spec scripts. But the other three are actually the majority of the income in this industry. How do you get those gigs? Then we'll talk about the basic steps of a paid writing assignment. And finally, we'll talk about the upcoming class, paid writing assignments, and how you master them so that you can do this also if you'd like. So, making money as a screenwriter. And I started asking this question early on. There are so many more opportunities now to make money than ever existed back when I first started. So here we go. I believe writers absolutely deserve to get paid for mastering their craft. I totally believe in the writers who are out there on the front lines and uh, making deals, getting movies made, getting TV shows made. They absolutely deserve every bit of money that they're making. Prerequisites. And this is for you. If you're thinking, am I good enough? Am I ready? All that kind of stuff. First, can you write screenplays? Right? If you can write screenplays, then of course there's a series of gradients, right? As you work your way up and become better and better and better. But if you've written a couple of screenplays, you're ready for this. Second, you can take notes well. And this mainly just depends upon your willingness to consider other ideas and to look outside, the words that you've already written. When you're in the writing assignment process, when you're working with a producer on making money on this, when you're doing that, taking notes is actually it's kind of like a brainstorm session. So if you're good at brainstorming, you're going to do great there. And then you need to know, again, how to do writing assignments. These are the three things you need to be able to get started at this. Now, let's take a look at different models here. First one is you sell your screenplay, right? And this is from a making money perspective. This is the one everybody knows about. There are a small amount of movies at the very top, screenplay sales that are just huge. They end up making the news, all kinds of things happen. But I'm going to tell you, even if you get money down here at the very bottom, if it gets you working with a producer and now you can say you're an option screenwriter, you suddenly have more credit. If the movie gets made, now you're a produced screenwriter. So it's not just about the money. However, the more money you get, the better off it is. So the way this usually happens, again, you option the script, you then get paid for the script, and the real money is in getting the movie made. There are some people who spend a lot of time worried about the option fee and those kind of things. Option fees have dropped considerably because producers went, our whole purpose is to get this movie made. So they focus almost all the money right there. And that's okay if you know what it takes to get a movie made. Understanding the writing assignment process will really help you in that situation. Second version, you rewrite a script that the producer owns. Now, this means the producer has already bought a script from someone else, or they might have optioned it and they're coming to you to be able to get you to rewrite because of this. If they already own that script, it almost always means that the original writer couldn't or wouldn't make the improvements to the script that would get it produced. I just want to give you just a quick cautionary note on this one. We've had 4 writers who refused to make changes that producers wanted after the producer bought the script. And in each case, the producer fired them immediately. This isn't one of those things where producers go, well, I'll give you a second and a third and a fourth chance. What actually happens is they think this way. They think, I'm going to put millions of dollars into this project, and I need to make sure that it's done the way I want it to be done. And if the writer is refusing, they have a tendency just to say, that's it, and cut ties, because they have lots of other writers who want to work. So please don't let yourself get caught in this. We had this happen to one of our writers. The producer gave her notes. She came back to me, the writer came back to me, and she said, I hate all these notes. And so I looked at them, and a lot of them made sense. So I called her up and I said, let me just ask you, on this first one, do you think that one's a real problem? And she was like, well, not that one. I said, okay, how about the second one? Let's discuss that. And she goes, that one's okay too. And by the time we were done, it was really, she only hated one of the notes, but she just hated that the producer had asked her to make any changes. And by the time I talked with her, she had already told the producer no. And the next morning she got fired. Fast forward a year later, because she had this in her contract that she could see all the drafts of the script. A year later, she saw the changes that the other writer had made. And all he was trying to do was to make sure that he changed 50% of it so he could get the sole credit. She saw those changes and he had destroyed her script. So she and I sat down. We went over the notes that the producer had given her in the beginning. She made all the changes to the script version that she had. She rewrote it in a way that honored what she needed and honored what the producer needed. She went back to the producer and said, hey, you know what? I thought about this. I'd really like to continue working with you. So I made all the changes you want. Please take a look at it. The producer fired the other writer and hired her back. Now that was one where in the end, it worked out okay. They made the movie. Everything was great. But wow, she went through so much pain just because she wouldn't consider those notes. So just be thinking about that. What happens most of the time on this, when you're rewriting a script the producer owns, is they'll give you the script, you read it, then you'll come in with your take. You'll come in saying, here are the things I would change about this script. And if the producer likes that, if they like the way you're thinking and they like the way you interact with them, then they'll hire you to do the rewrite. This is a lot of the work that gets done out there. So it's something you want to master. Third, adapting novels, comics, etc. into scripts. Now, if you think about this, these are the huge movies that are being done on a regular basis. It's like, it's all of Marvel came from this, right? It was comics. But there are lots and lots of other comics out there that producers have optioned that haven't yet been made into scripts. What this means is you go back to the comic and you read through it and create your version of it, right? If it's a book, you read the book and you create a take. You come back to the producer and say, here's how I would turn this into a movie. There are some people who think that that it's easy to go from a novel to a script. But the truth of the matter is if a novel has, let's say, 400 pages, when you bring that down to a script that's got 100 pages, really, you're going to end up using about 40 to 50 pages worth of that novel, which means you're cutting out 9/10 of it in order to write your script. So there's an art to it. And if you love novels and you're really good at thinking this way, you can be a star in this industry. Basically, what it comes down to is success equals getting to the essence. Remember, I said 400 down to about 40 pages worth, getting to the essence of the story and the characters, and then what will sell the movie. And this is really important. You could take almost any novel and write the story in a way that will sell the movie or in a way that won't. And there's lots and lots of people who will write it in a way that, you know, gives lots and lots of details, but doesn't get to what can work from a pitch perspective. So you always, anytime you're doing this, you get to the essence and you figure out a pitch and then write from there. Be careful about this. Don't ever adapt anything you don't have the rights to in a written agreement. Now, I know that there's stuff out there in the public domain, and yes, you can choose to write that if you'd like. But again, if you're doing it, if you are, like, let's say you just read a novel the other day and you went, wow, if you don't have a written agreement with the author on that, don't write it. Because let's say you write the whole script and then you get there and the author says no. It's like there's one person in the world who has total control of that situation. If you don't have a written agreement, you've got nothing. So be careful about that. When you're working with a producer, they won't come to you unless they have a written agreement on the project. So you don't have to worry about that. The fourth way is to write a producer's idea. This was something that surprised me. At one point I was doing, this is like 10 years ago or so, I was doing a conference. We had 20 producers coming in. We were speaking to an audience of about 100 writers. And one of the writers said, these producers must have ideas. I wonder if it's possible to write one of those. So every one of those 20 producers, that was my first question. Let me ask you, do you ever have ideas that you would like to be turned into a movie or a TV series? Every single one of them said yes. Now, there's no question about why they don't do it. Usually, almost all of them have a time problem. They're working their ass off. They're really short on time and that kind of thing. But most of them don't actually have the skills to write at the level that you do. That's not what they do. What they do is make deals and give notes. Those are the things they do. Completely different set of skills than creating a story and amazing characters and turning them into something. So just be open to this. We had a writer who sent her script in to a producer. The producer came back, turned it down. He said, I like your writing, but that's project just not for me. So we were just talking about it, and I said, well, why don't you just go back to him and let him know you're available for writing assignments if he ever needs anything. And so she did, and he came back and he said, yeah, I have an idea. I have this idea I've always wanted to do. I've included it. And he had written up like a page or a page and a half on it. She said it was just a whole bunch of kind of confused notes. She put them together, made sense out of them, went back to him with a treatment. He read it and said, wow, and hired her to write the script. So just keep this in mind. Producers have ideas. That may be the thing that gets you in. Now, these are the three types of writing assignments that we've just basically talked about: rewriting a script the producer owns, adapting a book or a comic into a script, turning a producer's idea into a script. Let's talk about the writing assignment process. Oh, first, let's go to where they come from. Where do writing assignments happen? When I started in this industry, they only happened up here at the studio level. And there was a lot of income, right? $250,000 to $1 million a script or more. But you needed an agent or a manager to be able to get one of those deals. And in general, they were working only with A-list screenwriters. So below that are the big producers. They also are working primarily with A-list, B-list, some C-list writers. You're getting 100,000 to 1 million plus or minus. It just depends on the situation. And again, you need an agent or a manager. Now, having said that, let me just tell you, today I was on the phone with a manager. We were talking about this. And the manager said, you know what, there are all kinds of deals out there that are not in this category right now. In fact, there's very few of these. So right now at the very top, the A-list to B-list, they're having problems. There's very, very few of these deals that are actually happening right this moment. But what he said was there's a lot of small producers with streamers that have streamer deal that can get movies made. So in those cases, the income is low to mid. It just depends on the situation and the budget. It might be as low as $10,000 to write a script, but it could be all the way up to $100,000 to be able to write a script. Just depends on the situation. And you have easy access to them. A lot of these small producers answer their own phone. They read their own emails. All you've got to do is go on IMDb Pro, find them, find their email address or phone number, and contact them, right? And this is, that may sound like something difficult, but I'm going to tell you, once you've done, like, let's say you've sent out some emails on this, once you get used to it, it's simple to do. And all it's doing is creating a possible opportunity. Now, the other ones are the filmmakers. And these are people who, they might be a director who basically puts together a crew and they go make a movie. And you get paid basically based on the budget. So you get a percentage of the budget of whatever money they raise to make the movie. Depending upon your filmmaker, that might be a little bit of money or it might be a lot of money. However, the thing to know, again, is there's easy access there. And here's the most important. When you make one of these deals, you instantly become a writer who has worked with producers. Your credibility doubles or triples the moment you sign one of these deals. If the movie gets produced, suddenly you're a produced writer, no matter what the budget of the movie is. And so it makes a difference. It also does something else that most people don't know. And that is, as soon as you start doing any kind of writing assignment whatsoever with producers, you become much more attractive to managers. There's a lot of writers who are trying to get managers who have never, ever done a writing assignment. And these writing assignments are 80% of the income in this industry. So just be thinking about that. It's 4/5 of the income in the industry, which means a manager needs you to be able to do these things. Now, at the same time, being able to do writing assignments means you can put things together. You can make deals. You can move your career forward. We have lots and lots of writers who have done this. So here's the basic steps. And I think I'm going to give you 3 out of the 5 basic writing steps on this. There's a lot more to this, but we'll talk about that when we get to the end. So the first thing is the initial connection with the producer. How do you get to a producer? If you're already in the industry, you already know. You already have connections. You already have people that you're working with. But if you're new to it, that's totally okay. You just simply go through the process. So first thing, if you have producers in your current network, and this is just one of those things where over time, you're going to build a network of producers. That's what's going to happen over time. But a lot of times you have to do the work to do that. So that means marketing your screenplay. Let's say you've written a thriller and maybe it's a female-driven thriller, and it's really strong. you take it out, you market it to as many producers as you can, so that you're getting in a door. They're at least looking at your pitch, and then you go back to them and let them know you're available to do a writing assignment. Then the other way is to get recommended. We've had lots of writers who have been recommended by other sources. I have probably gotten somewhere around 35 to 40 paid writing assignments because of my recommendation, where I just knew a producer who happened to want something, or a producer would call me up. We had this happen with one of the big horror producers who called me up one day and said, "Hal, who do you know who can write great horror?" And I connected him to some writers. I actually went to one of the meetings with one of them, and she ended up getting the deal, and she's written 2 horror scripts for him since, right? So that came off a recommendation. Once you're in the door, once you interact with them, then it becomes about the audition. And this is something that a lot of writers don't know happens. You know that in this industry, if somebody's wanting to get an acting role, they go audition, right? They go stand in line. They've got their sides. They come in. A director's sitting behind a desk with a couple of other people. They've got a video camera pointed at them. They stand up and they do their role, and it's either yes or no, or thank you for coming in, right? It's standard. Pretty much everybody in one way or another auditions in this industry. So as a writer, you are also going to audition. It's not because somebody's trying to put you in a difficult spot or anything like that. It's because the producer has no idea how you do your work. They have no idea what kind of work you do. So let me just walk you through what this does, because once you understand the whole audition role, then it becomes a natural part of the process for you, and you can learn how to ace the audition. So basically, a producer hires writers that they know can do the job. And this brings up this question: how do they know you can do the job? How do they find out? Your job is to show them that you can do it. So here's the way that happens. It often happens in a writing sample, right? I called up a writer one day and I said, I have a producer who is looking for somebody who's great at thrillers. And she goes, "Oh, sure, absolutely. I'll send you a writing sample right now." And while I'm on the phone, she sent me over a writing sample. I'm sitting there looking at it while I'm talking with her. So she knew up front this was part of the job. Let me tell you what else happened with her so you can see this whole thing. She interacted with me in a completely professional way. The moment I asked for anything, she sent me a writing sample. As soon as I started talking with her about the project, she was able to have that conversation. She actually ended up meeting with the producer and helped them discover their vision. The producer had presented one kind of project to me. After she met with him, she called me up and she said, thank you for telling me what he had told you he wanted. When we got in the meeting, it turned out it was something a little different. And that's because she got in there and started asking questions and interacting with him to help him discover his vision. So she told me the pitch back, and I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, that's a lot better than what he had originally said. So she made a big difference just in that situation. And then, by the way, let me just pause on that. Often it's about going one step further, which means you're presenting some kind of take. Now, what happens in this situation is you are looking at whatever their project is, whatever their ideas are, whatever their underlying property is, and then you're presenting a version. And that version might be a treatment, which is what she did, by the way. She wrote him a 3-page treatment, sent it back to him, and 2 days later, he came back and hired her. It might be an outline of their story. We've had this happen where a producer hadn't figured it out. They had all kinds of ideas. They asked the writer to create an outline. My writer created an outline, came back in. They then kind of workshopped it together. And as soon as it was working, the writer got hired. Could be that you have to write a scene. We had a writer who got turned down, by the way. And he kept looking at the script and he just kept saying, that it's just that opening scene is just truly awful. So he called me up and he said, is there anything I can do about this? And I said, give it a try. Rewrite the opening scene, send it back to the producer. He did. The producer loved it, fired the writer he had originally hired, and hired our writer because of that. And it was because the opening scene, which is incredibly important, was 5 times as good. The original writer had 2 people just sitting and talking. It was bland as could be. It was mostly exposition. It was slow. And our writer wrote something that was incredibly interesting, that had a major conflict in it, that really demonstrated who the lead character was. And the dialogue was so much better. It got him hired, So the other part of the audition is responding to notes. Now, if you've listened to the things I've been saying on what these writers did, every one of them interacted with the producer in some way and really thought about what the producer had to say. So in general, notes means the producer is coming back and saying, I don't want it done that way. I'd like it done this way. Or could you improve this one part, or whatever it is, right? Change this. Let's make this character older, younger, male, female, whatever it is, and you go through and do something very quickly to be able to show them that you can work with them, right? That's what this is about. It's just about showing them that you can work with them. Once you've passed the audition, then you're in the next part, which is writing the script. Now, very likely you've been hired at this point, and they already know that you understand, you get their story, you guys can work together well. So now it's about doing the work. And if they loved your writing sample, they'll want you to write something like it. Please know, this is the answer to the question. A lot of times people will say, oh my God, but what if they don't like my writing? And it's like, well, if they even read 10 pages of your writing sample, they're going to assume that's how you're going to write this. Now, you're going to take it to a higher level, but they are going to assume that if you write at that level, you're probably good. And then as you're writing the script, again, every time something doesn't work, every time they want something changed, this is about helping you discover the vision of the producer. And they're just like writers on this. Sometimes we get an idea and we think, wow, that would be amazing, but we haven't yet figured out how to write it, right? Or we get an idea and it's like, yes, and I'm going to start writing this, and 3-4 pages in, you suddenly realize you don't like your lead character, or you need to change something else, right? You're trying to discover your own vision. So producers are the same way. I've had lots of writers who thought, if the producer tells me something in the beginning, it's set in stone. No. What happens, you wouldn't believe how many times this happens. And let me tell you my model. Let's see what it says here. Yeah. My model is this. I'm from the very beginning, I'm starting at a small level. I'm starting at the concept. I had a writer come to me at one point and she said, I'm very upset with what happened with this one producer. He told me to just go write the script. And when I brought it back to him, he said, that wasn't the script I wanted written. And I was like, yeah, I know that problem. Starting at the very beginning, if you don't go through the steps with them, you're in trouble. So here's the way I do this. first thing I do, and I can tell you about this one producer that I worked with on this. I sit down, the writer and I sat down. I was one of the producers on the project, but he was the producer. I had come in because of the writer. But we sat down together, and he's telling us this story. And so I wrote out a version of the concept, and I turned it around. I slid the paper across to him, and I said, "So is that what you're thinking?" And he goes, "Not really." Now, if we had just started writing at that point, we would have had the whole thing wrong. So I don't care what it takes to get it right. I'm just going to keep asking the questions. So he tells me a couple more things. So I rewrote the concept, and I spun it around, and I handed it to him, and he goes, "Well, we're a little closer." So I kept talking. I kept asking the questions. It took us 30 minutes to figure out what concept he liked. But that saved us from hundreds of problems after that, because now we knew. So then I went, okay, as we're talking, I'm writing up what I think the story is. And I just kind of wrote a light version. I had it in bullet points. And I created what was the equivalent of a one page. I spun it around, slid it over. I said, "What do you think of this?" And he looked at it, and every word on that page had come out of his mouth, by the way. He had said every word there. And he goes, he says, "That's kind of close." And I said, "Okay, which parts do you not like?" And he took a pen and he circled 4 of the 7 lines that I had put there. 4 of them he didn't like. So this is my opportunity to find out and to get it really clear. The writer, it was her first time in that situation. She kind of looked at me a couple of times, and I'm like, no, this is okay. This is what we do. And the producer goes, yeah, this is what we do. So we went back and forth. I marked things out. I rewrote it on another page while he's eating his dinner. And at the end, I had approval on the one page. Now, again, that saved us from having 4/7 of what we were going to write be wrong. Now, what happened next? We got him a treatment. We sent him a treatment 2 days later. He came back and gave us 4 notes on the treatment. The treatment was a 3-page treatment, which basically we just took 1 act per page. He came back and gave us a bunch of notes on the treatment. We rewrote it, sent it back to him. He came back with just a few notes, and now we've got the treatment approved. From there, then we went to outline, same process. I don't remember how many times we went back and forth on the outline. It was 3 or 4. And then from there, finally to the first draft. Doing it this way, you have a 10 times better chance of success, because you get all the mistakes out before you even write. And you have the producer on board. They're saying, yes, 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 yes. If you are paid in steps, then as soon as you get to this step, a treatment, you'll get paid. And an outline, you'll get paid, right? First draft, you'll get paid. So if that's the way you have it set up, which I like that kind of setup, by the way. Now, to start this, and again, what I just gave you was only part of it. I talked at the end a little bit about making the deal, but it depends on the kind of deal you make and how you do. But to start doing writing assignments, what you need is to be able to write a script, which everybody here is good at that. You need to know how to brainstorm, right? How to rewrite, and have a writing sample. And whatever the writing sample is, needs to be a clear demonstration that you are great at this particular genre. So again, if you're doing thrillers, you hand them a thriller writing sample that delivers powerfully on the genre. Now, these are the things that pretty much everybody knows. Most people think if they've got this, they're good. This is to start. There's a series of other skills that you need to acquire. And this is what will save you. Like if we go back to the set of meetings that we just talked about, that last one, if I hadn't been in those meetings, I think that writer would have blown that deal. Not because she wasn't a good writer, she just didn't know. She just didn't have the information. So the skills you need to acquire is first how to build your credibility, how to build the kind of credibility that will have a producer believe they can hire you and it's the right thing to do. Then how to audition. We talked about that just a little bit here. And then what are the business decisions in scripts? There are basically 7 key business decisions in a script. One of them you obviously know is budget. The other 6 producers are thinking and talking about those all the time. I asked one producer, I said, in your interactions with writers, what percentage of the time are you talking about the business decisions that happen inside the script? And he goes, I don't know, 30%. Now think about that for a second. If you don't know the business decisions that are happening inside a script, and the producer is talking about them, but you don't understand that, you're not catching on to that, you're in trouble. That's something that's really, really important. And especially when you realize that the producer's whole purpose is to sell that script, to get it produced, to make sure these business decisions work in the real market. Then it's about taking notes. We talked about that a little bit, but we've got this mastered on this. It's about working with producers and approaching producers. You know, how do you get in the door? I gave you like 5 minutes on that, but this is an art. And finally, about how do you make the deal? So stay with me for a minute. Here's what this comes down to. Learning to do paid writing assignments. This might be the smartest improvement if what you want to do is to get paid. If you want to start making money as a writer, this is the primary set of skills that you need. Because what it's going to do is it's going to make you more valuable to the producer. It's going to make you a paid screenwriter over time. It'll get you IMDb credits. It'll help you get your movies made, and it will make you more attractive to managers and agents. Since it's about 80% of the income that comes in, when a manager is talking with you, part of what they're looking to see is, are you somebody that they could get paid writing assignments for? So this is really important for managers. You know, and if you hope to get either one of these, this is a skill set that you absolutely need. It also puts you in the top 3% of writers coming into this industry. The vast majority of writers coming into this industry have no understanding of this, no experience, and don't know anything about what it'll take to do this. So, you know, basically it just comes down to what you know and what you understand. So let me just walk you through how this class goes, because these skills, again, are the ones you need. So on the first day of the class, this is a 30-day long class, we're going to go over how paid writing assignments work. I just did about 50% of that particular lesson. So you have half of that. The other half will make a big, big difference for you. Then it's about how to create your own credibility, how to build strong credibility so it increases the chance that a producer will actually meet with you and talk about the possibility of hiring you. From there, how to choose your specialty. What are you going to become an expert at that will cause these producers to say, oh my God, I've got to work with this person? Your specialty could be a whole bunch of different kinds of things, but like, let me give you an example. We've had some writers who were amazing at female-driven thrillers. So that was their specialty. You know, they understood all the all the movies out there that had that were female-driven thrillers. They knew exactly what the audience needed out of that. They knew what the producer needed. They knew what the director needed, the whole thing. Then it's about the key business decisions in your script. Once you get through this lesson, first, you will instantly know when a producer is talking about business decisions versus story and character decisions. If you have those two mixed up, you're in trouble. But second, the other thing is when you're doing this, you actually will, when you're talking with them, you will be there honoring what's important to them, and you will be fulfilling the vision of this class, which is to know the writing assignment process better than the producer. That's what we're going for. Then on the fifth day, then it's about your writing sample and getting it ready. So a lot of times people will send in a good script. There are some very specific things that producers are looking for, and we've got a whole list of them. You need to make sure those things are exceptional. All the rest of your script can stay exactly the same, but if those things are just good, you don't get a deal. If they're exceptional, you suddenly move to the top of the pack. So that's important. Then it's about how to be invaluable to producers. This is the thing that can get you not just one job, but multiple deals with producers. We have had many writers who have gotten 3 or 4 deals in a row because they were incredible to work with. They knew exactly what the producer needed, and they were invaluable. At that point, it's about mastering writing treatments, because this, again, can get you the job. So we'll walk you through exactly what producers need in a treatment and how you can easily write them. On day 8, it's about how to decrease budget in a script. This is probably the most common place where a writer either is a dud or a star. And we want you to be a star. When a producer comes back to you and says, hey, I thought we were going to have a $20 million budget on this script, but we just lost 15 million, so we're going to do it for 5. At that moment, you are the one person in the world that can not only solve their problem, but can bring this thing in under budget. And this doesn't mean you have to know a thing about what the budget is. We have 15 different areas in the script where you can either increase or decrease budget. Once you know those, you'll be able to go through the script and make a whole list and go back to the producer who is sweating it out over there and say, hey, here, I've got a whole bunch of solutions. Which of these do you want to do? And now, again, you're the star. You're the one who saved the day. You're the one who was able to take it where, we went from this terrible situation where we lost 3/4 of our budget to, hey, we can get the movie made. And that may make all the difference. That may start your career. So it's worth it. Number 9, it's about taking notes from producers. We're going to give you a series of different ways to do this that will make this a comfortable thing for you and make it something where the producer just goes, my God, I'm lucky to work with this writer. On number 10, then it's about how to make the deal. Now, a lot of people have come to us and said, I just need that. That's all I need. Let me tell you, if you don't have number 1 through 9, it doesn't matter about number 10. This thing about making the deal and your pricing strategies and all that kind of thing, this only sells you if you've got number 1 through 9. So, if somebody comes back to you and says, how much do you charge? And they haven't experienced any of this, they don't see you as somebody who's a great writer, they're just trying to get a deal. But once they know what a great writer you are, then your price is going to be whatever's appropriate for you. So, and then finally, number 11, marketing producers. How do you get in the door? How do you get them to look at your stuff? How do you talk with them? How do you interact with them in the very beginning? And how do you bring them into your network so you have them from now on? Now, this program starts on November 4th. So that gives you about a week and a half or so. We'll start on November 4th. I'm going to give you a special price here. The normal price is $250. This special price is available for the first 10 people and is only available for the next 48 hours. So at this point, we can get you in for $129. That's just about half price. It's $4 off being half price. For $129, you learn what took us about a year and a half of interviewing producers and writers who were already inside the industry, who had paid writing assignments. It took us a year and a half to learn all of this stuff, and you're going to get it in 1 month for $129. So all you got to do is go down here to this link, write this down, bit.ly, bit.ly/WA class. Write it down, put it in your browser where you normally put a web address, click return, and come join us for this. Starting November 4th, every single day you will learn something new that will make you a better writer, but even more important, every day you will learn more about how to interact with producers, how to do paid writing assignments. And by the time we're done, again, this is the vision. You know more about the writing assignment process than the producer. And at the small producer level, this is easy to happen. So, you can go in as somebody who not only brings value to them, but makes the chance of their movie getting made, you can double or triple that chance, which makes you, again, completely invaluable. So again, all you got to do, take that link, put it in. Once you take this class, you'll have another way to work with producers. You'll come in and you'll be bringing big value to the table. You'll have another way to be able to get paid as a writer. And this, again, is the primary way people are getting paid in this industry. And you'll increase your chance of getting a manager when you get to them. So just ask yourself, what if you went through this program, mastered these skills, and were able to get your first paid writing assignment because of that? What would that be like for you? And just keep thinking about that, because that's the vision that you need to have as you're going through this program. And ultimately, you'll be able to make something happen. We have had so many writers who couldn't make a deal with a producer any other way, who ended up doing a lot of these paid writing assignments. I'm thinking of about 10 in my head right now, but we've probably had over 100 paid writing assignments. So this is something that absolutely works. So with that, thank you guys for being with me today. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got a lot out of this. This is Hal Krosman with Screenwriting U, wishing you the absolute best on your writing. Bye-bye, everyone.